Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it very, very much. And you know, we like to bring you breaking news and information as we get it, but we also like to go to the source to be able to get that information professionally as we welcome in Miss Ashley Rodrigue. Ashley, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right, very good. And Ashley is the Public Affairs Director for the State Fire Marshal's Office. And we've had some of these issues here lately with fires. And so tell us a little bit more specifically about this one incident and how it came to be and how we were able to make an arrest.
Sure. So this is a very unique case, and certainly we're grateful for the partnerships of the local law enforcement since it stretches beyond just one town, one parish. And we do believe that there's still some more work to be done on this investigation. So we're going to need the public's help on this too. But essentially, what we do know so far is that there was an incident at a hotel that occurred this past Monday, just a couple of days ago, on North Canal Boulevard in Thibodaux. In this particular situation, a flare was discovered in a hallway area of that particular hotel's lobby. It was extinguished, fortunately, by the time the fire department showed up, but that hotel was packed full, almost full guest registry, as well as, of course, those staff members working there. While our deputies were investigating this particular case, another incident occurred at a hotel. Rather, let me switch back the day before on November 26th on Sunday in Gray at a hotel on Linda Ann Avenue. And while deputies were investigating that case, another scenario of a flare in a stairwell, they learned about the Thibodaux incident. And of course, Thibodaux Fire called us to help them with that investigation. So certainly able to very quickly put the facts of these cases together and realize that they were connected and that there was the possibility that it was, of course, the same individual doing this, and working with the Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office and the Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office, as well as the Houma Police Department coming up in a minute, as well as Thibodaux Police. Everyone working together worked very quickly to identify this particular individual, Deshaun Montgomery, as the suspect in these cases. And so moving forward with those team members, locating that individual very quickly, the Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office was able to find him and pull him over in a traffic stop and take him into custody on some outstanding charges that they had for him for some unrelated cases, and then had him in custody whenever we were able to get together the warrants for both of these cases. And so at this time, the Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office can really give some more detail about what this individual's motive was in doing this. But certainly from our perspective, we're talking about the fire-related element and the arson, and having this particular situation occur while there were no injuries, and seemingly having an object like a flare thrown into a hallway doesn't necessarily, for some people, seem to be a big panic. The reality is that there are people in this hotel, there are full of guest registries, people who are just relaxing or in their rooms, and get, of course, jolted by fire alarms and rushed out of the building. This in itself is an element of danger. When people become in a panicked situation, they might react differently than they would when they're in a calm situation. So, and that can certainly create injuries. So there's a lot of elements to this case, and we are certainly glad that we have gotten this person behind bars. But we also feel like there are some other elements, other incidents that this individual may be associated with. As I mentioned a little bit ago, we are now working with the Houma Police Department and Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office to possibly look into a connection with two other very similar cases from earlier this month. And we think that there may be some information, some video, some pictures out there relative to those cases that the public has that we would really benefit from in those investigations. So we're hoping that the public, if they do have information on any additional similar type of incidents they may have been experienced in a hotel in these particular areas, or maybe even outside of those areas, to give us a call on our arson hotline, 1-844-954-1221, or you can head to our website, lasfm.org, where you can submit a tip very easily online, and tips can come in both ways anonymously. So at this time, this investigation is still very much ongoing, and we would appreciate if the public can help if they do so.
Well, actually, some great information, and we appreciate that very, very much. And I love the fact, I brag all the time. I bragged yesterday on television about how wonderfully well all of our law enforcement works together, and that includes the State Fire Marshal's Office when it comes to finding out what's happening. You guys do an outstanding job of really digging in much deeper than just the average eye about what these events are and how they may be related. People with arson, we know with some of the history, very often have certain tendencies. And very often, they often start fires the same way. And so I love the fact that we're asking the question, we're asking the public. I appreciate you giving out that number again. It's 1-844-954-1221 or online at lasfm.org if they can give more information. And so that's very, very helpful so that we can see if, in fact, that's a pattern.
Absolutely. And to your point, that partnership that we have with these local agencies is absolutely key, because the reality is, as I mentioned, something like this actually occurred earlier in the month in another location. But without having that elevated connection and being able to say, hey, wait a minute, this sounds like this, sounds like this, you might miss it. And so at this point, we are fortunate to have had, when these two incidents occurred, one was being investigated, the other one gets called in. And as we start having those conversations and saying, hey, we've got some similarities here, someone else says, hey, wait, I think there was something that happened over here too.
Right.
Let's put all this together. And so
Right.
that is why you're absolutely right. Having these great connections, great relationships can really elevate something from one case to a pattern.
Right.
And we want to make sure that those patterns get cut off very quickly. And in this instance, at least in two cases, we have cut off that pattern with this arrest. And we are hoping that we can resolve that those other two that we do know about are possibly connected. And if there are more, connect them. And if not, know that we need to keep looking for someone else.
Absolutely. And we know this is an ongoing case. Ashley, we thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. And that will do it for this particular segment. Don't go anywhere. A lot more Bayou time when we continue.